Thanks so much for joining us. You'll see I just put a poll up just to help us gauge where everyone's coming in at for today's topic, and looking at people's current experiences with AI in the workplace. If you want to take a moment to answer that, that'll be hopefully interesting to see. And we're just going to give people a few minutes to roll in, and we'll get started in a minute or two, just to be respectful of everyone's time. But thank you for joining. All right, we're getting quite across the board with these polls. Currently, majority are either in the not at all or the continuously throughout the day responses. So really both ends of the spectrum. So I'm excited to see where that brings us in our discussion later. Give it a minute and then we'll rock and roll. Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us for our first Lunch and Learn webinar. We are really excited to have this opportunity to bring the Champlain community together to connect and engage or reconnect with this Lunch and Learn program. This is the first session that we're having, but we will be exploring topics across the board, everything from entrepreneurship to professional development, career satisfaction. So things looking at what it means to be navigating life as a professional in 2024 and some of the unique experiences of that. Emerging trends like our topic today, some industry specific topics. And we'll also be starting a personal finance series as a part of this. So definitely stay tuned for that. And we're excited to see how this program grows, and definitely will be looking to get your feedback as we build this out to make sure we're providing the best possible opportunity for our community. So without further ado, I'm going to kick us off with today's session on AI in the workplace. We're very fortunate to have two guest speakers with us today, Dr. Elaine Young and Melinda Lathrop, who are both from the Champlain community, and I'll be giving more of an introduction to them in just a moment. I wanted to give a very, very, very brief overview of AI just before we get started. And I'm saying this is the most brief overview, just kind of getting grounded in a few terms and looking at what's already happening with AI in the workplace. So just from the audience poll that we have today, the question of how frequently do you think you use AI in the workplace? It looks like we have 40% not at all, 17% a few times a year, 10% a few times a week, 13% a few times a month, 7% a few times a day, and 13% continuously throughout the day. Then it looks like we're looking at about the same sort of percentages when we look at generative AI. Not at all is actually the highest, 38%, and then continuously throughout the day is 14%, to just get a little gauge on where everyone in today's conversation is coming from. So for today, we're going to have, again, a very, very brief AI overview. I'm going to introduce our two guest speakers today. We will have two presentations from them, and then the second half is going to be really sort of like an open discussion forum for everyone to bring their own experiences and opinions to this conversation. So I wanted to just get grounded in two terms. There's artificial intelligence and there is generative artificial intelligence. Also, if you see me looking over, I have the presentation on a giant screen to my left, so that's why that's happening. I think a lot of people might think of AI only when they think of generative AI, so I just wanted to kind of ground in what the two differences are. So these definitions are pulled. We have artificial intelligence as the theory and development of computer systems able to perform tasks that normally require human intelligence. So this is everything from visual perception to speech recognition, decision making, translation between languages, and a lot of tools that you've probably been using for a very long time and didn't necessarily realize were AI. And then we have generative artificial intelligence. So this is what it is when people are thinking of things like ChatGPT and DALL-E. And this is artificial intelligence that is designed to process prompts from users and respond with text, images, audio, or other output. that is based on a trained data set. So those are for the two main terms that we're kind of going to be thinking about today. And then I just wanted to look at, there are so many surveys, studies, reports on AI in various industries today. And I just wanted to pull two charts just to take a look at. So this first one is top ways that business owners are using AI right now. Customer service is a top ranking one, which I think a lot of us might think of chatbots or automations, maybe helping with CRM platforms. And then I just thought this was nice to kind of look at all the different ways that AI can be used in business. And then looking at some of the uses based on industry. So right now, marketing and advertising is showing as using it the most. And again, this is just from one study. I did try to find ones that were compiling larger sets of data, but I'm sure you can find reports and studies that may have different sets. But just interesting to look at how the different industries are looking at it. I think marketing and advertising makes sense. A lot of us think of when it comes with the content generation and the automations. So I just wanted to put those out there as well. And now I want to get us into why we're all here, which is to hear from our guest speakers and get going with today's discussion. So we have Dr. Elaine Young, who currently serves as the program director overseeing Champlain's online marketing programs, including bachelor degrees and graduate degrees. They have been a committed member of the Champlain community for over 23 years as professor, program director, assistant dean in the Siller School, and is now working at Champlain College Online. I personally had the privilege of having Elaine Young as a professor when I was at Champlain, and feel very fortunate to have had those opportunities. So really excited about that. I also was excited to have Dr. Elaine Young come, as I've been following her on LinkedIn, and I think that she's someone who's always on top of things in the industry and is really always on top of emerging trends and learning and exploring that. So I immediately thought of her when we started this topic. And then our next guest is Melinda Lathrop, who is an alumni of 2017 at Champlain and is now also an adjunct professor for Champlain College Online. So they currently work as director of strategic partnerships with Southern Made, and we'll be learning a little bit more about what they do there in a bit. They are digital marketing communications expert, really working with technology to drive strategic partnerships, identifying emerging trends such as AI, and ensuring brands remain at the forefront of digital innovation. They serve as the adjunct instructor and subject matter expert at Champlain College Online, and they're currently developing a course on marketing in the age of AI. So we're really excited to have you joining us today as well. Thank you so much to both of you. And we're gonna go right into the meat and potatoes and kick it off with Melinda's presentation.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It's nice to be here with everyone, and I really appreciate the opportunity to chat with all of you. To kind of kick things off, I want to give kind of a brief overview of what I do at Southern Made, just so that you guys understand kind of the context of where I'm coming from with AI. So at Southern Made, we look at ourselves as a technical solutions lab. So I like to compare us to a traditional kind of marketing agency, but take the marketing out of it. We truly just stick in the technical realm of things. So a lot of times we're partnering with other agencies directly, and we're doing a lot of the technical behind the scenes work of how we can implement some of these new and emerging technologies that are being implemented and that are out there in the field. So for us, more recently, that has been AI, which has been the hot topic for everyone, especially all of the different clients we've been working with. And it's really full circle for me to be able to talk with everyone today because, like Brianna stated before, I'm working with Elaine on an AI course, which we're super excited about. That's going to be coming out next year. So it seemed like a very timely discussion for us to all get together and kind of have an informal conversation, I would say, about the workplace and AI in general. So I kind of put together my slides based on how I'm using AI at Southern Made and kind of how I'm seeing it being put into our client work as well, just so that you guys can get a broader sense in terms of how we're utilizing AI internally and externally when it comes to the projects that we're working on. So I thought to start the groundwork, it's probably important to understand why AI is important in the first place. I, like a lot of other people, were kind of skeptical of it at first. I was a little bit afraid. I wasn't quite sure what this robot thing was. I personally did quite a bit of research into it and became one of the experts at Southern Made, being able to talk to our clients about AI and understand kind of their pain points in terms of how AI can solve problems that they have. And I like to think about AI as being this very efficient way to get a lot of the work done that I was already putting lots of hours into in the past that I can now get done much faster. So, one of the biggest important takeaways that I have taken from using AI in the workplace is increased efficiency. So, it's really helping me automate a lot of repetitive tasks. It's allowing our employees to focus on much higher value work rather than the meat and potatoes of writing an email or something like that. You can get a lot of help from AI to help put together some of those high level tasks that you would just be doing anyways. It also helps streamline workflows and it helps reduce a lot of manual errors, which helps enhance overall productivity, especially when it comes to spelling and grammar. That's one of my, we'll see later in the slide deck, but one of my favorite tools is actually an AI tool that helps with grammar because I'm not the best speller. So that has been super helpful and one of the things I've embraced with AI, especially. And then another reason that I find AI to be really important is that it actually helps enhance decision making. So it actually will help us provide data-driven insights in predictive analysis or analytics that'll help aid in decision-making processes in general. So by training models to understand what we're looking for and help us get to a definite value or the content that we're trying to write, over time, it just becomes smarter and smarter. It's almost like an extension of your own brain in terms of AI is kind of how I think about it. And I think it really just helps have faster and more accurate analyses when you're doing a lot of different data or you're putting together a ton of content. It's almost like having a set of extra eyes to reread and kind of go through everything that you've worked on. Um, and then another one of the most important things for me in the workplace is improved customer experience in general. I've found that the personalized interactions through AI with chatbots, with email marketing, with really anything that I'm using to communicate with the clients that I'm working with, it's actually very helpful to use AI because it helps my responsiveness and it also helps me integrate automatically. Their first and last name can auto generate. It can help me come up with subject lines when I'm sending an email to someone. We can really target exactly who that specific person is and what's important to them without me having to take 45 minutes to try to be creative and think of what to say. It definitely helps enhance that creativity as well. And then kind of lastly, another really important aspect of AI in the workplace is just the scalability and flexibility of it. AI systems are so able to be really flexible and scaled easily to accommodate what you're doing. It can be very custom, which is great, as well. And then it also offers flexibility in adapting to changing market conditions as well. So just making sure that you're staying up to date on things, you're able to use AI to just really stay on top of different trends. And it's personally helped me make sure that I'm staying on top of all of the latest technology that's coming out and truly understanding what different areas in emerging technology are going to be important for our clients or for any of the work that I'm doing internally. So yeah, that's kind of a big overview of just like my favorite top points of AI in the workplace. And then AI at Southern Made, how I personally use AI every single day. When that poll popped up, I went to respond and it said the host couldn't respond, but I was going to say continuously because I truly use AI a lot. And I would say for me, just like I've put on the slide, this is kind of an overview of all the different tasks it helps me accomplish, but day-to-day emails have become so much faster for me, which is great. I'm able to create personalized marketing content very fast. So whether I'm sending an email to a client or we're putting a campaign live on our website that we've recently launched, I can now use AI to help me generate that content that lives on the website as well. It also has really helped our process automation and streamlined a lot of workflows for our internal employees, which I'll get into in a little while. But that I think is another really big area of AI that's just going to continue to grow, whether it's in the education sector, if it's businesses in general, or a place like Southern Made, where there's very specific pain points that we can use AI to help streamline our processes and make things much more automated. And then also implementing chatbots, which we'll also get into a little bit later, has helped with our customer service in general. And then it also can help optimize talent acquisition processes and then conducting more insightful employee reviews as well. That's another way I have used AI quite a bit because pretty involved in the hiring at Southern Maid. So we've been able to use it internally and externally, which has been fantastic for us in general. And yeah, now that we've kind of talked high level overview of how we're using AI at Southern Maid and some of the ways that I'm using it personally, I wanted to kind of talk through a few different examples that I thought would be most relevant to a lot of the people that are here today at the webinar, and then in general after as well. But one of the main ways that I utilize AI in the workplace at Southern Maid is through content generation. And for me, that means utilizing AI powered content tools to actually create a compelling and personalized either marketing campaign, email. It could be anything from responding to an RFP. I don't know if any of you have had the joys of doing those, but it really helps a lot in terms of helping streamline that process. And I wanted to provide a video as well. Brianna, if you want to press play on that, it's silent, so I can keep talking over it. But essentially what this is showing is I typed in what type of email do I want to send? And I said an augmented reality project. I put in my company name and then the tone, and then it spit out almost 15 or so different relevant, timely subject lines when I'm sending an email to those about an augmented reality project. So that's just one example of how I use AI every single day. And for me, it's great because I use ChatGPT quite a bit, which is, we'll also talk about that later in our favorite kind of resource area. But ChatGPT actually uses natural language processing algorithms. So over time, they're analyzing what I'm saying, how I'm writing it, and it just helps refine my tone and it helps continually learn how I'm responding back to certain emails or projects that I'm working on or RFPs or whatever content that I'm inputting within that section. Awesome. And we can go to the next one. In addition to content generation, I would say chatbots are another really big area where I think AI is going to just continue to grow from a customer service perspective. And especially at Southern Maid, we've had quite a few clients and larger brands requesting how they can use AI-driven chatbots to actually enhance their customer support and engagement. And one thing that I found really interesting about using an AI chatbot is that it also helps respond much more quickly to people that are having issues. Like, let's say there's a customer service person that is supposed to be there, they had to go to lunch or they had to go to the bathroom. Someone doesn't have to worry as much about being glued to their desk all the time. There can be an AI component that can help kind of answer these questions as far as possible before needing to get a consumer or a customer agent involved. So for us, that can mean a chatbot that's helping with product information. It can provide personalized recommendations based on your browsing history, your purchasing behaviors, or whatever preferences that it's learned about you over time. So as a consumer, sometimes it can feel a little creepy when AI is truly learning what we need as a consumer and what we want. But over time, it's going to help you in the long run, at least in my opinion, because it's going to save time in terms of understanding what you want. It's going to just really direct that specific item that maybe you were interested in or the question you had about something. And it's really going to get a finite answer really quickly to you and provide you exactly what you're looking for rather than seeing an ad for a bazillion different things that you're not interested in. So that's one example of that. And then in terms of our kind of the last area I wanted to touch on is internal operations, because I think a lot of times people think of AI and they think of external in terms of content creation and image generation and all of that stuff. But at Southern Maid, we've actually been utilizing AI and learning how to use it by optimizing our internal operations. So for us, that means we're automating through AI a lot of the different creative processes that we do or internal employee processes. So for instance, you can kind of see here on this GIF that's playing, we utilize Notion quite a bit. It's a really cool platform. If you've never used it before, I highly suggest checking it out. And we put a lot of our projects that we're working on at Southern Made in here. And basically you can have it help generate a project objective for you. You can help with meeting notes. AI can summarize all of that for you and have a recording and summarize it within there. And it's really just helped us over time speed up our process, especially for our account managers and our project managers. They're saving so much time being able to use those AI summary tools. And it's just really helped in general in terms of us being able to scale much faster and have those automated processes. And yeah, here are kind of the benefits that I see, in my opinion, of us adopting AI at Southern Made. I think back to 6 months ago. No, it must be long, almost 8 months ago when we didn't really use AI that much and we were still kind of learning about it a little bit. I think for us, integrating it internally was one of the best ways to understand it. So for all of you out there, I suggest using it yourself, getting comfortable with it for yourself, and it will really help teach you how much there is out there that you can use. Um, but yeah, overall for us, it's really increased our efficiency and productivity. It's helped us enhance our creativity and animation and innovation as well, because tools are helping us actually explore new ideas and approaches. It's also improved our client satisfaction because we're able to give them personalized solutions and support that are exactly what they're looking for when they need it. And I also think there's opportunities for skill development and career advancement as we all start to embrace AI and start using it ourselves. I think it's just going to continue to become kind of an extension of who we are, almost like Google was however many 20 years ago at this point. It's just going to help enhance our everyday lives. And then, although there are a lot of benefits, as you all know, especially being in the education field, there are a lot of challenges and considerations of AI that we definitely account for at Southern Made. And then I also think about as well as a consumer and an individual. And for us, it's really important that ensuring data privacy and security is one of the forefronts of AI. And I think that's something that has a lot of people still kind of questioning who owns this data, where does the data go? And I think no one really has the answers for that yet. I think it's continuing to evolve over time. And I think we all just have to kind of understand that some of these are the challenges and considerations. And if you're not comfortable with essentially machine learning understanding you and being able to help you as you're inputting more information, then maybe it's not the tool for you. But I think overall it'll help us in the long run. And then I think there's also a few ethical implications as well of AI where it can potentially develop a bias to a certain extent if you're putting in the same type of things every time when you're trying to create an image or you're trying to write content. So I think us as consumers and as people in general just need to be conscious of our own biases and make sure that we're actually, from an ethical perspective, putting in the correct prompt, which we'll talk about a little bit later, and making sure that we're not being biased ourselves because we're essentially training this AI or whatever tool we're using. So we need to make sure that we think about that as individuals as well. And yeah, those are kind of the high level overviews of those. And then the strategies for successful AI implementation. So for me, in terms of maximizing the benefits of integrating AI while making sure you kind of avoid some of those risks, is just making sure you're transparent and accountable when you're developing and deploying AI. Make sure, like I mentioned a couple minutes ago, that you're trying to keep your biases low and you're really understanding what you're putting in and you're writing those prompts correctly. And then investing in some sort of ongoing training, even if it's not spending money on yourself or something like that, but just taking the time to research and continue to hone in on those skills. And then honestly, collaborating, doing things like this, going to a webinar, learning online from other people on LinkedIn and finding out what's working for them, what's not working for them, and just really staying open-minded, I would say is kind of the last thing that's another way to successfully implement AI and just make sure that you're understanding it and trying to use it to the best of your ability. And that's it.
All right, Melinda, thank you so much. I can't tell you how excited I am to be here, to be having had Melinda as a student and Bree as a student. And I see a lot of former students in the list of folks who are here, and to now come full circle to be working with Bree as a colleague and Melinda also as a colleague as we're working in this space of continuous transformation. You can bring us to the next slide, Bree. So I'm here to bring us a little bit into the higher level, the upper kind of like the bigger picture. Melinda did such a great job of highlighting how she's using this and using AI and generative AI in her workplace. And she's touched on some of these things. I want to highlight a few things. So obviously across industries, we have things like automation. So marketing automation, a lot of us know about that if we're in the marketing space. And it was exciting to see, of course, I'm a little biased, Bree's notation that marketing and advertising is using AI more than most places. Well, that's not really a secret. We've been using some type of automation and AI and algorithmic, say that carefully, processes in marketing for quite some time. But we can now start to use it to predict the best times to send emails. And we can segment customers. All of you who've had me know that I care about that whole buyer persona thing. You can now use it to help you create buyer personas, right? There's like an amazing array of things that AI can help you with in this space. For those of you in digital media production, I think this is the place that's particularly both, challenging and exciting and terrifying all at the same time, right? We have Adobe already bringing AI directly into their tools for video editing software. Graphic design tools can generate multiple design options. You can change backgrounds. I heard the other day even that Samsung is releasing their next phone operating system is going to allow you to AI is, I don't know, your photos. So you can already have photos that are going to change backgrounds if you don't like the background it's in. So all of us are going to have access to these tools on a personal level. I am highlighting esports analytics because I will throw out that little excitement that we have a new program in a BS and esport management that literally just launched. So I thought I'd put a little nod here to esports. And really, how do we understand anything from players' in-game decisions and movements? How do we look at that data? How do we understand what they're doing to identify patterns and look at performance and feedback, right? So that's some really interesting ways in which we can look and utilize AI. And hit that enter key there, Bree. But how AI is reshaping job roles. I don't think anybody is surprised that this is going to be a transformative, disruptive change in everything we do. So for me in higher ed, it's going to change everything we do. We're already seeing that. Melinda's shown us excellent examples of the way it's changing her day-to-day. Our job roles are going to transform. So every single one of you who's here, I don't care what job you're in, your job is going to change. So very simply, because I'm in the marketing area, we're going to use AI to generate draft content like Melinda was talking about, so that I can focus on some other things, spend more time on that, the bigger picture strategy. Artists and designers can use AI to explore new forms of creativity. Oh my gosh, that idea of like, I can't think of any ideas anymore. I've got nothing left to give. And then you ask a prompt and suddenly you're flooded with wonderful little ideas, from the sublime to the ridiculous. Talking about that productivity, and Melinda touched on that. So the data sets, the analysis, this is amazing. I mean, I've done something as simple as taken a 55-page report, it's a PDF, dropped it into ChatGPT 4 and asked it to summarize that report for me and provide some key highlights. I didn't time this, but I would say it was less than a minute. It gave me a summary that I could then just take a look at and know if this was a report worth reading. Saved me a huge amount of time, right? So that's something as simple as that. But then all of you working in CRM systems that may not have AI and you're doing a lot of manual work, when they bring that AI in, automating and optimizing tasks so that you don't have to keep doing them over and over, but it does it for you automatically, as we like to say, makes a big difference. I think perhaps the thing that is most intriguing to me about all of you who are here and why we're here today is when you increase efficiencies in an area, it opens up space. And it opens up space for you to be able to do other things that you might not have thought you could do or you had time to do. And so, yes, that does mean that's going to impact jobs and what our expectations are of somebody who comes in at, say, quote, an entry level. But if you are the person who is leading with AI literacy, if you are learning and bringing this into your workplace, you're going to stand out. That value of knowing how to utilize these tools, when to use them, when not to use them, which tools to use, and what is most effective in this time period of uncertainty is going to have a huge impact on your job success. I mean, I firmly believe that. So now let's talk a little bit about what this is doing in education, right? So go ahead and hit that enter key, Bree. So what we're doing in CCL right now in our classes, we're doing anything from having reflective discussions with our students about what is the meaning of AI in this space, what are the things we have to think about, bringing in conversations around bias, helping people understand like the intricacies and the layers of these tools. But then asking students to do things like write this post or write this assignment. Now go into a generative AI tool. Do the same thing using generative AI tool. How is this different? How is this the same? How did you get to the right answer? Did you get to the right answer? How many questions did you have to ask to get there? And then, of course, there's that great new course that Melinda's going to work on called Marketing the Age of AI, right? It's like, what does this mean today and tomorrow? Like, how are we going to be ready for this? And it is my belief, and you go hit the enter key, Bree, that our job in education is not to defend against AI. You're hearing a lot out there about we have to, cheating and all of the dark, horrible things. That train left the station a long time ago. Our job is to arm our students with the knowledge, skills, and ethical grounding needed to navigate where we are today and get people ready for what is to come. Because that's like the life that we're going to be engaging in, both professionally and personally, in the next, it'd be nice to say 5 years. No, absolutely not. In the next 6 months to 2 years, right? It's going to change completely. Go ahead, Bree. So there's a couple different paths to take here. They're actually parallel paths. So in your workplace, what are the tools you have access to right now? What are they? What do they allow? What are some things your IS department is like, no, you may not do? How do you navigate that? How do you practice prompt engineering? I have a link here to an article I wrote, co-authored with ChatGPT on LinkedIn about one framework to help you with that prompt engineering and to explain how to get deeper and better answers, right? Because all of this is about asking the right kinds of questions. I really encourage you in your workplace to find other people to talk to about AI use cases. What are they doing? How are they doing it? Perhaps at Southern Made, Melinda is talking with not just the marketing folks, but also the people in finance and the people in IS and saying, like, what are you doing? How are you doing it? How is this changing what you're doing? I can't emphasize enough that we are at the beginnings of this transformation. While policy setting may not be the most exciting thing in your life, you might actually want to get involved in the ground floor of how are we going to set the policies for our organization? What are we going to say is okay? What's not okay? How are we going to guide people as this next new tool comes out and this next new tool comes out? And then the tool we were using yesterday goes away today because they didn't get their Series XYZ funding. It's going to be chaotic and crazy. How do we work together to set policies and guardrails to support our workplace operations so we can get those efficiencies? And of course, access those helpful resources, which I'll talk about shortly. In your personal life, how many of you are exploring AI integrations in popular platforms? So Google Labs, anybody playing with Google Labs? I challenge you to sign up if you haven't already, because what they're doing is they're integrating AI directly into their search. So I can now ask a question in Google's little bar, and I get AI generated answers. And those answers keep changing, right? So from basic text answers to suddenly the other day, they were showing me images and other things, right? They are moving at light speed. So how are you learning about this in your personal life? Play with the free versions of ChatGPT, Claude, Bard, Copilot, and all the other ones, Midjourney, all the things that are coming out. Play with them, have fun with them. That's one of the best ways to learn, to just go in there and mess around. Explore AI generated image creation. All the images in my little part here were generated by a collaborative process. My prompting in ChatGPT with DALL-E, giving me some really fun images. But then, and I think Melinda touched on this really nicely, start thinking about what your own comfort level is with generative AI use. How is it going to affect you? What do you want to get from it? I would just, I mean, most of you who've had me in the past know that I get really excited about new technologies, and I am really pro adoption. I'm really pro practice and try and learn, and then start to set your own boundaries on what you feel is great about this and what are the things that cause you to be concerned, and how do you want to mitigate those, right? How do you want to deal with those? And you could do a lot of that in your personal life. In your workplace, if your boss comes to you and says, I want you using generative AI, it's probably not a good idea today to say, I don't believe in that. Just, worth thinking about, right? So go ahead to the next one, Bree. So learning mindset, keep calm, keep learning. You're going to hear a lot of hype about it's going to take our jobs, the robots are coming, these horrible things are going to happen. Well, yeah, change happens, right? I think there were images of people when calculators came out. There were math professors who were protesting that people were never going to know how to do math anymore. When the internet was there and we had ebook readers, people were freaking out that nobody's ever going to want to read an actual book anymore. Okay, none of that's true. Don't go into that, kind of binary thinking that those things that are about fear. It really is, okay, what's going on here? How does this work? How does this work in my life? How does this work in my workplace? But do not deny, do not be that ostrich with your head in the sand. Accept change is coming, it's here. It's not, let me wait to see what happens next year. No, it's here. So learn so that you can find your pathway through this, use knowledge to adapt to that change. But of course, I'm going to say that because I'm a professor. Learning is power. And Bree, finally, here are some helpful resources. So these are a couple things, and I shared this in our LinkedIn group. The Neuron is a fabulous newsletter. I love this. One, it's fast and easy, not too much happens to the inbox, one thing a day, quick, really easy read. You can dig further if you want. Trust Insights, really cool company. Their blog is first rate on finding out what's happening in AI. The Algorithmic Justice League. If you are concerned about bias and how technology is supporting people and possibly, well, not possibly, is perpetuating biases, these are the people to pay attention to, see what they're doing, watch their content, learn from them. And then Christopher Penn does the Almost Timely newsletter, also an excellent one. He's partnered with Trust Insights and is doing a marketing AI course that I'm actually taking right now. So I am also continuously learning. Explore current tools for free, but pick at least one that you're going to pay for. Okay. So OpenAI, that's your ChatGPT. Google DeepMind, that's Bard. Anthropic is Claude. And then Microsoft, of course, is with Copilot. And they're all doing, here's the freebie version, but then here's more money, for paying. At least one is worth paying for. I'm paying for ChatGPT and Claude, because what's starting to happen now is certain ones are better for certain things. So like in anything you do, if I want to do deep analysis, I might use ChatGPT. If I want to write something creative, I'm going to go to Claude, right? And so how do you find out which one works best for you? Much like social media platforms, one is not enough, and everyone meets and reaches different people at different times in different ways. So definitely keep those things in mind. And then Melinda has some resources to share as well.
Can you go to the next slide? Oh, there we go. These are a lot of the helpful resources that I use every day or at least once a week in my role at Southern Maid. So Jasper AI is really great for copywriting. A lot of these are very similar to sort of like the overall ChatGPT, like I have on the bottom of the list, like Elaine touched on. But these are different kind of spin-off platforms that I've used to kind of help my day-to-day work and make things a lot more faster and more productive in general. And then Notion AI for productivity is something that I use. Zapier really helps automating tasks. Chat Fuel is your way to make your own chatbot through AI without having to build it completely custom. That's really like the quickest way to do it through that. And then Grammarly, I don't know why I put this number 5. It should be number 1. I use that day in and day out, every email. It actually integrates into Gmail. So as you're writing an email, it'll automatically suggest, here's how you could rewrite this to sound a little bit more professional or to fix some of your spelling mistakes or anything like that. So honestly, Grammarly is my number 1 most used. I use it constantly. And then lastly, ChatGPT, like Elaine touched on, you should be using 1 or 2 or all of them. They're going to be very important as time goes on, I think, and they're just going to continue evolving and getting even better. And ChatGPT was kind of the champion in the beginning. They were kind of that first AI platform that everyone kind of flocked to, but I think there's going to be more that evolve over time and just continue to get better.
All right. Thank you so much to both of you for sharing that. I was really excited and nice to kind of hear both a little bit more in depth of some of those use cases and then overall how we are thinking and approaching this. As we segue into the next section, I just want to invite everyone to really be open-minded and that there is no right or wrong way to approach this. Everyone has their own experiences and opinions and curiosities. So I'm going to be opening up into this sort of open discussion forum. We do have a few guiding questions, but I also want to open up the floor before we bring any of those up to anyone if they have any specific curiosities or follow-ups or just want to share their own piece about this. We have the Q&A box, which can also sort of be used as the chat box. You'll have the ability to vote or comment on other people's input. And then also you'll all have the opportunity to unmute yourself. So I'll give all those permissions in a moment. But I'm excited to see where this goes. I'm personally embracing the mindset, taking myself back to those discussion-based core classes. I know we all remember those. So that's kind of the energy I'm summoning today. And I'm just looking forward to getting going. So I'm gonna stop talking and open it up. And again, before I bring any of those guiding questions, want to see if anyone has anything off the top of their head that they wanted to bring up. And you can feel free to unmute or drop those in the Q&A box. Okay. If no one has anything off the top that they want to bring up, I will.
Here comes one.
Oh, we have a question come in. How do you approach security and privacy when it comes to personal information? And I want to open this up while we do have Melinda and Elaine here as well to provide some guidance and expertise. I also want to open this up to anyone who wants to speak on this as well.
So I think that's a great question. And I'll tell you, it is an interesting one because in ChatGPT, I'm not sure how many people are familiar or have been using ChatGPT, but there's a whole lot of outside GPTs that are available to try, right? So you can use regular ChatGPT and ask it questions and whatever. But then you can try somebody else's, like the presentation maker, or, Melinda's awesome chatbot creator. And when you get there, you go, okay, do I trust this? What are they going to do with my information? It's not much different from playing games or doing anything else. You always want to understand, like, what's happening with my content. I think if you don't see what they're doing with it, you have to believe that they are taking your content and putting it out there for the machine to continue to learn from it, right? And so they're taking your data that you're giving them, the questions you're asking, the responses it's generating, and it's putting it back into the tool to keep learning. So I guess what I think about is, being careful without stopping myself from giving something a try. In the workplace, you should definitely connect with your IS people to see if there's something in particular that you can or cannot use, especially if your content is proprietary.
Yeah, and I know,
Go ahead,
I know
Melinda.
for us at Southern Made, especially when it comes to PII in general, when it comes to brands specifically, I'm noticing that still a lot of the larger brands are still having some red tape up. Like a lot of them are still a little bit afraid of AI, and that's really why is because of personal information collecting and then also the security behind it. So a lot of times those brands and clients are only allowed to use one specific platform when we're integrating it, or they just say, not yet, we're still making sure this will pass our legal process. So I think it's still being adopted. And I think people for the time being just have to kind of be okay with the data not being completely secure, as it typically is. So I think that'll change over time, but for now, it's not as secure as I think it could be.
Yeah. And I think that that's going to continue to evolve from moment to moment. So Bree, are you going to kind of facilitate the questions, or should we
Yes,
just jump
yep,
in?
so we got those coming in. All right. We have another one. How much time setup do you need to make files ready to be harvested by AI to do things? Harvested was in quotations.
So, Elin, I have, I can see, I love that. If I have a PDF, I can pop it in a ChatGPT and ask it to read it. So is that what you're asking? Because that's as much time as it took. However long it takes to find my file and attach it.
I guess I was thinking that if I was trying to get ChatGPT to give me information for an email, I have to give it all the information that I want included.
Correct.
So how am I preparing that information in a in an AI friendly way?
Right. I love that. So it is prompt engineering. So it is, I think a simple one is to start with the role you are asking it to pretend it is. So pretend you are an email marketer whiz who works for a higher education organization that is trying to reach students to get them excited about study abroad. And then the action, I'm going to send an email to get people to sign up for our presentation. And then the context, you'd say for further context, this is a small private college. These students are this kind of background. This is what they care about. We're trying to get them to go to Dublin and Montreal. I'll try to make this really a specific example. And then execute. Please write or please provide me with 3 different examples of an email written in the following tone that would excite the students. So with practice, you get a lot faster at it, for sure. But that is the process.
But it
I'd
sounds
also
like
recommend-
that's all harvesting or taking things that are external to my files.
So you are asking the ChatGPT or the generative AI platform a set of questions that it will then take and generate content from. You may not have to attach anything, but the more information you give it, the better response you're going to get.
I'd also recommend checking out Elaine's article that she mentioned that she co-wrote with ChatGPT on prompt engineering. It does showcase one really helpful strategy that outlines it really step by step of some of the things to include as best practice. And everyone will be receiving a recording and copy of the slide deck. So all those links, all those resources will be available to you. Another one we have, I've heard a lot about potential plagiarism. What can you add about that concern?
I guess I'll take this one as a college professor. So I would say that it is our job as educators to think about our assessments in a way that then challenges the students to not just take the easy way out, but to actually utilize ChatGPT or utilize Claude to help them create their content and then provide information on the prompt they used, why they used it, how they got to the answer they did. So I think it is on us as educators to think differently about the kinds of learning assessments we are asking for people to do. And it is also a time for us to question, what do we mean when we say plagiarism in a world where content curation has become king? I don't have an answer for that, but it is a question.
Yeah, that makes me think of what you were bringing up before, is the idea of like, this is happening. So instead of avoiding it, it is really like teaching students how to use it in the best way to engage. I saw someone left a comment. They said, my boss in a recent staff meeting shared that AI will more than likely not take your job, but the person who knows how to use it may. And I feel like that encompasses a lot of what is being said, and it's really a mindset to think about. We have another one. Of all of the AI platforms mentioned, is there a best one to start with for a novice?
Melinda, I think you probably
I
good person
personally, I think ChatGPT is probably the most straightforward. It's the most user-friendly, I think, and it's also, I believe, one of the cheaper options if you decided to actually commit to paying for the platform. And I think in terms of a lot of the professions that we're all in, like whether we're an educator or we're writing emails or content or marketing, or I guess it really does just depend on the industry that you're working in. I know ChatGPT is very helpful when it comes to anything content or research or analysis related, just in general. I don't know if you have any thoughts too, Elaine.
Yeah, I think from a free version, I would go with Claude.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because for free, it's better than ChatGPT for free. By better, I'm going to say you're going to get a better set of content from it.
Correct.
For
Yeah, I
paying,
agree with that.
if I'm going to put my money down, I would go and I want to be on what's more cutting edge and continuously changing, probably with ChatGPT. If I am more concerned about privacy, security, and data use, I'd put my money on Claude. I think most people who have Windows operating systems don't have a choice. Copilot is here. They've updated and it's lingering around, so you can always play around with that. I'm not sure I'd give Microsoft more money though, but that's a me thing. And Google, of course, is playing around with it quite a bit too. But at the moment, what I like about Claude and Anthropic is that they're very security, data privacy minded. And so if that is a key issue for you, then I'd go with Claude.
We have another question. How would one become knowledgeable with AI, and do we offer any introductory training?
It's a great question. And so I guess it depends on what you want to know. So and I am going to talk about Champlain College Online. We do have actual classes in our technology area where you can actually learn about what machine learning is, and you can learn what AI is in the technical standpoint, for sure. As to, hey, is there an entry-level AI kind of course? Not at the moment. Yeah, but there will be this really cool upper-level marketing class coming in another 6 to 9 months that Melinda will be creating if you're looking for a specific use case in marketing. So one of the things that I would suggest for that learning is some of the resources I recommended. And I would say that the more you do your research on, you're going to find some free options to kind of give you information. But if you want to dig deeper, you're going to end up having to pay for some of it.
Do we run the risk of losing our ability to act without the assistance of the computer? For example, because of GPS, no one could read a map anymore, and this has had serious consequences. This is an interesting
I
one.
love that question because I'm older than Google. So this is something that comes up for anything that happens. Sure, absolutely. But I'm also not a plumber or an electrician, but I have lights and running water in my home. And I'm okay with that. I'm good with it. So what it does mean is that we're in the midst of what does it mean to live in a digital environment? And what does it mean to adapt to a digital environment? It is very different, right? And so like in my personal life, I have very little social media anymore. I know many of you will think that's funny, but there it is. I live, you know, in a place where we don't even have cell signal, and I like it, right? But there is always that, oh gosh, you know, am I going to stop being able to actually write because I don't have to write anymore? I can just ask prompts, but my work is going to be different. I'm going to be using prompts instead of fully writing. Do we lose something from that? Potentially, yeah. So I mean, that's that back and forth between these kinds of things. And there will always be people who are going to say, no, we're going to still write. There's going to be people who are going to embrace prompt engineering and then, you know, quote, forget how to write or forget to use like a map, not know how to use a map. But then there's going to be a whole bunch of other people who gained access to things that they didn't have access to before, because now the GPS gives them information that they couldn't access for whatever reason beforehand. So it's a series of trade-offs. And that's why I talked a lot about your personal comfort level and what you care about as also being a guidepost for what you're doing.
We have just a few minutes left, and just to be respectful of everyone's time, I also just wanted to open up if anyone wants to share some of their experiences with how they have been using AI in the workplace, or opinions on that. I know we have someone who shared that they work for a federal banking regulator and are developing policy on how to incorporate AI into regulatory research. So we can see it's really used in a vast amount of industries. Any takers? All right, we'll go on to another question. Is there education for making your own GPT?
Excellent question. The Neuron, which I recommended in my presentation, their email today literally talked about how do you create your own GPT. They gave a link out to where you could learn how to do that and broke it down into a step-by-step process. So does Elaine know how to do that yet? No. Is Elaine going to learn how to do it? Yes. So that's why your resources are really helpful.
All right. Just going to have a final little closeout. And as I'm going through this, I wanted to bring back up the poll that we answered at the beginning. And now that we have a bit more knowledge and potentially on AI, I wanted to pose these same questions and just see if people feel like their responses would be different, if maybe you actually were using AI more than you realized you were. And while you're filling that out, I just want to let everyone know that we will be continuing this program and are so appreciative of you for joining us. Stay tuned for our next webinar, which we will have Carrie Shackett from the Champlain Career Collaborative joining us, and that will be on spring cleaning your resume and LinkedIn. And we, like I said, we'll have a personal finance series coming up, and are going to be continuing to explore different topics. Once you're logged off this webinar, a survey will come up for you, and we really, really encourage you to fill that out, as that feedback will help inform how we are building out and developing this program. Again, we want to be making this the best thing for our community. And that is all we have for you today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, everyone. It was great.
Thanks, everyone.